These are regulated as temporary signs on privately owned street poles. And then sign area is cumulative. Okay, so now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So please, this is section 160, signs in the village zoning district. Please turn to the village zone section in the comparison handout. So the handout looks like this, and it's closer to the back. And there's going to be 2 pages. So we'll wait till everybody gets it so we can all follow along. Amy, you can turn off the projector now. Thank you. Mr. Slaughter, before we start. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, there was a. He asked if there was a support of neon signs, and in this room there was.
So, can we just go on over what basically is acceptable and not acceptable in the proposed ordinance with regard to neon signs, and if that
Thank you.
that meet the room's expectations, what do you suppose we would be willing to allow?
Sure.
Not adversely affect the downtown area, in the sense of the tradition it's kind of day.
So, Mr. Slaughter, and thank you to the Emmitsburg Tattoo Shop for supplying donuts to here. I really appreciate that. So basically, Mr. Slaughter asked, what's the current ordinance say about neon signage, and is the town willing to basically negotiate for any other changes? So basically, right now, as written, neon signs are not allowed. That's a typical village zone, historical district kind of mentality where neon signs are not allowed. However, at a staff level only, so as for myself, I'm just speaking for myself and not the Board of Commissioners, Planning Commission, or the mayor, I would be okay with allowing a size limitation, such as 2 to 4 square feet. So if you want to have a neon sign that says open, I would be okay with that personally. I'm going to propose that to the board, and I'm going to propose that to the mayor, but all I can do is just give that recommendation. I have no authority to specifically change that, but I wouldn't recommend anything over 4 square feet, because my concern is someone's going to come in here, not saying the business is here, someone's going to come in and ruin it for everybody. They're going to put a massive, however many square foot sign, 32 square foot sign, something strange, and it's just going to ruin it for everybody. So 4 square feet, I'd be comfortable with. Mr. Sun?
I'd like to go on record saying I think we should allow not necessarily larger, but more than one per street frontage. In other words, I'm proposing, for instance, my business be allowed to have I'm okay with the current size limitation. I would like it to be larger, but if it's not, I'm not gonna fight. But my neon open sign and my neon tattoo sign should be allowed on one, is what I'm asking for. More signage, square footage for neon signs or multiple rather than increasing size of, the current size limitation.
So Mr. Sun, for those at home, basically said that he would like to see more than one allowed. He's possibly okay with allowing size restrictions, but he would like to see at least 2.
I'd like to have an open neon and one describing my business. I think that's fair. An open neon would be a welcome addition.
Okay. I did put that in my notes. Thank you.
So does that raise the question of the cumulative size of those 2 signs then? Because currently you have a proposed restriction.
Open.
One,
Right. So he's asking if that would count towards cumulative. So,
multiplier effect, so now
Yep.
they're twice the size basically.
well, basically the open sign would not be considered to count towards your cumulative. The tattoo would,
Correct.
because it's commercial messaging. It's just like you brought up a really good point at the EBPA meeting. Just like sandwich or food, that's a commercial messaging, and I agree with that. So that would be also gets considered commercial. Yes.
Sorry,
Mr. Slaughter, you want to?
real quick, can you go back over the commercial distinction on this, just in terms of the size restriction?
So for Village, or for neons, so Mr. Slaughter's asking if we would go over for size restrictions. Right now, like I said, it's prohibited, but myself as the town planner would be okay with allowing up to 4 square feet. I have not yet thought about the multiple signs, so I'm not going to comment on that. Oh, for commercial messaging, the tattoo would be considered commercial messaging, or sandwich, day spa. Open would not. That'd be considered just a regular sign. Or closed, yes.
Well, the tattoo business is on 2 streets. So, the street towards North Seaton, would that have one sign and one on, West Main Street?
So he said that the tattoo shop basically has 2 street frontages, which is correct. It's, Main Street and North Seaton. Right now in the current code, he can have 2 lit illuminated signs because he does have those 2 street frontages. Any other questions? That was a good question. Yes.
When you're writing, I know you're writing a proposal, but when you're taking this back to the Board of Commissioners, is there some place that you can write that in, that we would like that other neon?
Absolutely. So basically, we have one more meeting that's going to go over all the districts. So I'm going to propose it as it's written because I don't want to change the process. So I've been going forward with how we have it written currently. However, I am going to, at the end of those slides, I am going to have a list of all recommendations, and then beside it, I'm going to have if staff supports it or staff does not support it. So they will be made aware, because at the next meeting, they will determine if it's going to be proposed or pushed to the Planning Commission for review and comment period, or if they just want to kill it completely.
They meaning the commission.
The commissioners, the Board of Commissioners, yes. Yes.
The planning board can kill it also.
No, the planning board in zoning matters only can recommend approval or denial, and they can recommend approval with conditions. They can recommend denial, but the Board of Commissioners do not have to take their recommendation. Yep. Okay, good questions. And he asked, I don't think I said this, he asked if the Planning Commission could kill it. And the answer is no, not technically. Okay, so we're going to go over the nitty gritty now. This is when we get into our numbers. This is what we need feedback for. We need to know what you need in order to survive. So we're going to go over the first column, which is current, and then we're going to go over proposed. Hopefully you're going to like what we're proposing. So currently, this is current only. In the current code, barber poles are permitted at licensed barbershops and are not counted in sign area. This is the important part. Sign area is cumulative. All hangers are in the form of metal brackets, so you're going to see your projecting signs that come out with your board, just like you saw the board up there, Mrs. Glass, you asked about. That's a projecting sign. Also, just so you are aware, there is a handout over there that states every single sign, and it gives you pictures, so you're aware of what's going to be permitted and not permitted if you're not aware of what the sign is. So permitted signage. So signs no larger than 36 by 24 and do not protrude from the building farther than 38 inches. Only one internally lit sign per business per road frontage, which we just talked about, and it's the max size of 1 foot by 2 foot. Only one awning canopy per storefront on ground floor only. For home occupations, which this is still a thing in the village zone, maximum square footage is 2, and the maximum height is 4. This is pretty much more common in the R1, R2, and R3. These are residential zones, more common for them. Identification for public and nonprofit organizations, maximum area 50 square feet, maximum height 8. Individual business, maximum area square footage is 50. Maximum height is 8. However, since we're in the village zone, we must go back to that signs are no larger than 36 by 24. So you can't do a 50 by 1 square foot sign. Temporary on premises, maximum square footage 32 square feet, maximum height is 8, and temporary signage may only be attached to the bottom of the second story window. So technically, right now, the sign for the Heritage Day is not technically legal if it's on the second story, but under the new, it would be. So let's go for the proposed. So this is what we're proposing. Same with the barber poles. We're not going to count that towards your cumulative. Installation may not damage or require removal of historical material. So that's been added. So we want to make sure that the historical aspects of buildings are not tampered with and destroyed, because we have some really beautiful buildings downtown that are very, very old. So permitted signage. So as you're going to see here, it says plus. So they're not cumulative. So they're not. So you can have an exempt signs, plus you can have limited duration signs, plus temporary signs, plus portable signs, plus your home occupation, and then plus your on-premise signs, which we'll get into in depth here. So wall and awning and canopy. So these are the signs that are attached to the walls or an awning. So a maximum or 1 per tenant per street frontage, up to 2 per tenant. Maximum area is square footage, so it's 1.5 square feet per linear foot of building frontage facing a public street or parking lot. So let's use the tattoo business for an example. He has 2 street frontages, so we would include both linear footage in the calculation. And these are subject to the maximum size of individual signs. So maximum individual, so it's 12 square feet. Awnings, they must follow the on-premise section, and then the height is the eave line. An eave line is basically where your gutters are. And illumination, external lit from above. However, we did discuss we are going to recommend internally lit also. So plus is projecting signs. So these are the ones that come out from the wall. All hangers shall be made of metal. We want to keep that from the last because it is aesthetically pleasing in a historical district. Maximum 1 per ground floor establishment. Next page. Maximum area. This is also going to be your 1.5 square feet per linear footage of building frontage facing a public street or parking lot. However, you're still subject to the maximum size of an individual signs. Maximum height 6 feet, or maximum area is 6 square feet, and then the maximum height is the eave line. Illumination, externally lit from above, and again, we want to allow the internally lit signs. Window signs, so these are like your decals on your windows. There's no maximum number. The square footage total, there's no maximum. But there is a maximum for individual. So permanent signs is 15% of the window area, and for all signs it's 25% of your window area. So what this means is you can have 15% of your window with decals, and you can have another 10% with, if you want to do a wall sign on your window. If you want to, that's up to you, but it would count towards that 25% maximum. Does that make sense? There was some confusion there. Mr. Sun?
How does that compare to where we currently stand in terms of percentages of window? Is that something you could tell me quickly?
Yes, 1 second. Looks like I did miss that in the other section. Let's see.
Yeah, we had gone through some confusion as to was panes of glass, individual pane of glass, or cumulative space. I know the new one addresses it via linear foot.
Okay, so section 15.16.30, letter O, window signs. The combined area of permanent and temporary signs affixed to a window shall not exceed 35% of each window glass area. An individual 10% of the window area may not be used on a temporary basis to advertise. So we did decrease this. However, we increased the square footage for every other sign. It's not cumulative anymore. So that's how we kind of believe that it's more business friendly, even though we did decrease the amount.
More signs, less smaller size, more signs.
More signs, less, yes, size. Any other, Mrs. Glass, or Susie, I'm sorry.
It is Mrs. Glass.
Okay.
Anyway.
He's getting there.
Yeah, he is. 35% of your windows all you're allowed.
Currently 35%. Yes.
Is there any chance of increasing that?
If that's something you would propose, at a staff level, I would not support it. Reason being is because we're allowing so much other signage, but I can put that as a request.
Yeah, second that as a request.
So she's asking if we could increase the square footage of the window.
So like the tattoo shop has those huge windows that are made in section panels, correct?
Correct.
So he's only allowed to use 35% of one section panel?
No. So that would be total window
Total window per street side?
per street side.
Per street side.
So she asked if that would be per window pane or per window square footage total. That would be per total street frontage.
So you have two panes, right, one on
Yeah,
each
so
side
like
of
the,
your
so
side
like the,
pane.
like the restaurant, we have 3 windows in the front and 1 on the side.
Yes,
So we have designs on all 3 windows.
correct. So she said that the Odd House has 2 windows just like they do with 2 different street frontages.
Different. They have plate glass windows.
They have plate glass windows, yeah.
A huge amount that he could advertise.
Yes.
I have a smaller amount, but I just think that, like, our center window that's etched odds is over 35%, but it's done very it's a beautiful window, and I don't understand why. I know that I'm grandfathered in.
Yes.
so I know that I'm grandfathered, but I'm here for everybody.
Yep.
So I just
But
feel
if,
that.
yeah, a new business wanted to do a beautifully etched window and it was over 35%, they couldn't.
Correct. So my standpoint is, as staff level, you're giving us basically, because if you approve this, if you agree with this, we don't want someone coming in, if the tattoo shop would forever, for whatever reason, leave, someone coming in and putting some massive signs there. So, because it's so much windows. So it's an unusual amount of windows. It's the most windows space in all of town. We're just trying to prohibit excessive signage. Yes.
Okay, so if on the street I have 12 windows, you know, they're, I don't know what they are, three by 4 or larger probably, but just say they're 3 by 4, 12 windows, I can put a full-size decal on a certain number of windows as long as it's within that percent,
Yes.
cover the whole window with a decal.
Correct. So he's basically asking if you have 12, 15 windows, would you be allowed to cover one if it makes the entire square footage under 25%, which we're stating is yes. Mr. Slaughter?
I was just gonna ask Don a question if I could. Don, do you consider the 35% to be too restrictive for your purposes?
Mr. Slaughter asked if the 35% is too restrictive for his particular business.
Percent of that window space is a lot of advertising.
I don't necessarily consider for me, but I'm the oddball.
Right.
Again, like Susie stated, we're
Right.
trying to think of everybody else coming.
That I understand,
Down-
but
down
you don't
for-
consider it
currently,
problematic for you, right?
Not necessarily, but I'm also would like to be out there with the tape measure and see exactly how much space that is. As it currently stands, I'm allowed, I'm not happy with the allotment of permanent vinyl that I'm allowed on the glass itself, not the hanging stuff inside, the permanent vinyl, I think. But again, it's because of how much glass I currently have.
Right. And I guess maybe in Susie's case, you're exceeding the 35%, and that's your concern?
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about that, so.
Right, and you go down a few spaces to the former granny's attic, and she
Mhm.
has all this glass, and it's painted, and
Right.
it was tastefully done and nice, and no one seemed to object to it. So I get the small, the details about all of this, what's considered tasteful and what's not, if you're human. So, yeah, I get it, and I'm okay with it, because we're allowing, the new ordinances are allowing multiple ways for which I can advertise my business. Would I like larger, but yes, I understand the restriction.
So Mr. Sun said he would like to see an increase. However, he's okay with it because there's more signs that are being permitted for businesses.
The variance of the new ordinances are allowing me more things, so I'm cool with the 35.
But he's okay with the 35. Okay. Yes.
So if, let's say, Granny's attic was doing whatever it was doing, and under the new sign ordinances, they could still have that same big mural, but it would have to be a separate fixture. It couldn't be on the glass. That's what this is saying.
So no. So murals would be exempt from that particular
No matter
rule.
if it's on
Exactly.
glass storefront or not.
Absolutely. So they're exempt regardless. So this is for commercial messaging only.
Okay, so for odds, is there any way that we could put another word in there with murals that maybe is like artistic renderings or something? Because like odds has a name in it, so I see how it would be considered commercial. But at this,
That's my sign.
as does your sign, right? But is there a way that, because odds, I see them as two different things because yours is vinyl and yours is like etched. And so there's a different level of
So the only thing,
artistry.
so basically, you're asking if we can add something to the mural and art exempt section to kind of include that. That kind of scares me because
Sure, it is very subjective.
if it's subjective and it goes to court, the town automatically loses
Sure.
because it's always given to the person, fighting it.
Right.
If it's subjective. So that kind of scares me because then everybody would be exempt from everything if they painted it on or was
Sure.
so.
Sure. I see.
But it's a good question, a good comment. Yes, Susie.
So if you have so if he wants to paint a mural on his front window, he
He
can
can.
do anything he wants. So he could cover his whole window with a mural with tattoo art.
So Susie's saying would it be okay if Mr. Sun put a mural on all of the windows? And the answer is yes, as long as it doesn't contain commercial messaging. Now you could do a mural with commercial messaging, but that would then be that particular commercial message would be subject to the square footage requirements.
I could paint the whole front window and then only the word tattoo would apply to the commercial.
Correct. That's correct.
Put a mural of someone making a tattoo on someone.
That would be a.
That's why. Okay.
Thank you.
We want to see more murals, so we love what you're doing. Anyone else? Are there any kind of recommendations on changing anything else? Do you like it? You don't like the numbers? Now's the time.
I think I know we can go back into for, the church, the signs that we were talking about. I don't know how to word it. It's not my job, but I think if he wants to put up a parking or even if it's a Sunday morning sandwich board, I don't see why that's a problem.
So
As long as there's permission from the
Property.
property owner, I don't see it, and they take it down Sunday afternoon when church is over. I understand the concerns with clogging up the town with all these signs and all that, but I mean, if it's for Sunday morning for church, if it's for, if it's a one-day thing weekly, I don't think anyone would object to that.
So basically, Mr. Sun's saying that he would agree with an off-site portable sign, temporary sign that would only be there for a couple hours or a day.
Yeah, I mean, right, for suppers or what have you. I think it's hard to disagree with that one.
Okay.
Churches and such. And that's all I have for that.
Okay. Thank you. I wrote that down. Susie.
It would just be written in for like nonprofit or, you know what I mean? That's.
So that was the kind of thing with the Reed versus Gilbert. It's more content based. So non-profit would be content. It's church, so they're getting kind of a special exception. So if we would write it in, just basically allowing anybody to do a 1 day per week or whatever, I would have to look at that.
I think it's less intrusive for a sandwich board for a few hours than a permanent sign like you were saying you're concerned with clogging up the town, but left for this, right for that.
Portable signage.
Yeah, portable signs I think would be would go a long way for folks. Hey, event today,
Come this way. Yep.
signs on Heritage Day and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah, right, I agree. Yes, Susie.
Still, are you allowed to put out just your mobile characters?
What's that? Mobile characters.
You know, people have to.
Oh, dress up Bryant in the pizza suit.
Oh yeah, we're not limiting that whatever by whatever it means. If they want to hire somebody 365 days a year, that's their right to be on the sidewalk. Anything else that you see that you don't agree with, you agree with, you like to see? And if there is none, this concludes our first session.
I just wanna, go over again, in terms of the illumination signs. So no scrolling, no blinking, a fixed illuminated, that's it.
Right. So
And you are recommending neon in the new one. I know we talked about this.
Yes.
So that will be as the exception on the new version.
So, me personally, as a town planner, I would be okay with that based on restrictions, as we did talk about. I can't promise you that the town manager or the mayor will be in agreement, but I will put that on the list as for the board to see.
I'm not personally have a dog in that fight, but if someone has a blinking open sign, I think that's considerably less distracting than a guy in a pizza suit.
Anything that's blinking, I know staff will not recommend that. It's just distracting. But I understand your point with the pizza sign or whatever sign, tattoo sign that somebody's hanging out.
I just distracting again. We're subjective. What's distracting and
What's-
what's
right.
distracting and what's luring people into my business?
Right.
Where's the line on that one? Right.
Right.
I get it. It's tough.
It's tough, yeah. He said it's tough to distinguish between the two. Mr. Slaughter?
If there aren't any other comments or anything, I just wanted to sort of make a general statement. I've been following this, I'm with the EVPA, and I've been following this process for, seems like several months now.
Correct.
And I just wanted to commend Zach and the staff on how they put this all together. I think they've really done their homework with regard to this proposed ordinance, and it does seem to cover virtually every concern, at least in black and white. So you can get rid of some of the arbitrariness with this down the road, I think, and their willingness to talk about it and to discuss exceptions, I think is really essential. But most importantly, they've really made this democratic, and they've invited businesses to participate, to get a sort of an earful of what they're planning to do and to express their opinions and concerns. And I really want to applaud you for doing it tonight.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Mr. Slaughter just wanted to thank staff for their work and putting this together. He believes that it does cover basically everything in black and white, so we're protected for the future. If there's not any other questions, we will be having 3 more meetings. The next meeting will be on Monday, next Monday. This will be for the institutional district only, but you're more than welcome to come. The next meeting after that will be for the residential districts. That's R1, R2, and R3. If you live in town in one of those districts, please feel free to come. That will be at nighttime, though, from 7 to 9. And then there will be a 4th meeting to cover all other districts, basically all commercial districts, industrial park, in the matter. And we will not be having a meeting on the recreational zoning district because basically the town owns all the recreational parks. So, but just to let you know, if you have any questions, we are going to allow bigger billboards, or not billboards, excuse me, bigger scoreboards. That is one major change that we're going to do for the teams and everything else. Mr. Slaughter.
And are you going to do the third and final session, part of the original schedule in June?
Yes. So he asked if we're doing the 3rd and final session to the Board of Commissioners, and yes, the plan is it will be on the agenda for June that I know of, as long as the board puts that on the agenda for June at their May meeting.
Off to the planning.
And then hopefully off to the Planning Commission. For July, it'll be back before the Board of Commissioners in August for a public hearing. And then after the public hearing, they'll hopefully vote in favor of it, and we can be done with this process. It's a really long process, but it's to hear your input. We don't want to shove anything down your throats that you don't want. This is your town. We want to hear your input. So, if no other comments, the meeting is concluded at 10. 53. Thank you all for coming.